This week on Chicago Newsroom 2.0, Sufjan Sohail, Swati Staley, and Claude Robinson return to the roundtable to discuss Chicago's 2026 budget, CPS's late-inning property tax hike, and the battle for City Council Zoning Committee Chair.
Bottomline Chicago Executive Director Jennifer Reed Davis sits one-on-one with me to discuss the organization's efforts to support the success of first-generation college students from historically under-resourced communities.
George M. Pullman Education Foundation Executive Director Eric Deli-Bovey joins the newsroom to talk about the transformation underway at his organization thanks to a $10 million gift from philanthropist Mackenzie Scott.
Alderwomen Nicole Lee and Pat Dowell, two of the architects of Chicago's recently approved city budget, join us to give insight on a 2026 city budget process unlike any we've ever seen before.
And CAN-TV's new Chief Joy correspondent, Hassani Olajimi, is here with the premiere installment of the new Enterprise feature, Good News News. I'm Suzet McKinney.
I'm Mark Ishaug. We've put together an incredible hour of local news and information that matters most to Chicagoans.
And it all starts right now. This week at the Roundtable, we're turning our focus to three interconnected stories unfolding at City Hall, each one raising questions about leadership, optics, and the political path forward for Chicago. First, the 2026 Chicago budget. As details continue to emerge, it's becoming clearer who stands to benefit and who may be left behind. Beyond the spreadsheets, this budget may ultimately serve as a referendum on Mayor Brandon Johnson's governing philosophy, his ability to manage competing priorities, and what all of this means for his long-term political future as talk of a second term already begins to surface. Second, Chicago Public Schools and a controversial property tax hike. After an initial vote was abruptly canceled, the board reconvened and approved the increase during the holiday season, a move that has drawn criticism and fueled questions about transparency, timing, and public trust. At a moment when CPS is already under scrutiny, critics argue the optics couldn't be worse. And finally, a power struggle over zoning. A showdown is brewing as Alderman Bennett Lawson pushes to permanently secure the role of zoning committee chair. With zoning decisions shaping development, neighborhood growth, and political leverage citywide, this isn't just about a title. It's about who controls the future of land use and influence at City Hall. Taken together, these stories paint a picture of a city navigating fiscal pressure, political ambition, and institutional trust, all at the same time. Joining me now to make sense of it all are Roundtable regular Sufjan Sohail, chair of the Cook County Commission on Human Rights, Swati Staley, partner with Just Act Partners, and Claude Robinson, president of Onyx Strategic Partners. Sufjan, Swati, and Claude, welcome back to the newsroom.
Thank you for having us. Thanks
for having us.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Let's get into it. So the City Council passed an alternative budget to the one that Mayor Brandon Johnson proposed. And while he refused to sign it, he also didn't veto it. So what does this tell us about where power currently sits between the mayor and the council? Who wants to go first?
I'll kick us off.
Please, great.
I think first off, we can't underscore enough the historic nature of this move by City Council. Mm-hmm. We've never seen an instance where City Council has proposed its own independent budget and has passed it over the lack of support of the mayor. And I think it squarely shows that City Council is prepared and ready to make moves to actually govern the city in a way that, unfortunately, it does not appear that they saw the mayor as stepping up to the plate to do so, and having conversations about the necessary compromises to get the budget across the finish line. I think that it is refreshing to see. I think it does instill a sense of action on the part of city governance, which is great. But I do think that it is highly unprecedented, and I do think that Mayor Johnson's willingness to allow its passage without vetoing it, not signing it, does indicate his awareness that this is something that, you know, he lost the battle on, unfortunately, right? And I think it should hopefully indicate to him that working with City Council is going to be far more important going into 2026 to make things happen in the city.
I agree with you. Certainly, we're seeing that this is a City Council that is not ready to stand by and just rubber stamp.
Absolutely.
They are ready to govern and move the city forward. Claude, you have a thought?
Yeah, you talked about power, and then, you know, politically, the power is in the votes. And if you have the votes, you can go ahead and whatever your agenda is, move it forward. For me, in watching all of it, I thought it was a bad perception on the city overall. And when we talk about just the perception of what's happening, the opportunity to govern in a way that shows that you do have the best interests of the city in mind was there. And I think they've really missed that opportunity to show that in spite of everything that's happening on a national level, that they understood that they had to govern in a way that's in the best of the community. But we know egos tend to get in the way, and then decisions have to be made. So hopefully there's some learning lessons for Mayor Johnson and for the council to say, you know, can we do something different as we go forward, knowing that Chicago is under attack.
Absolutely. Sufjan, you have a thought here?
Just echoing what my two great colleagues said, that I think, you know, we need to grow up. We have real challenges, as Claude mentioned, facing us, our communities, and when the mayor and city council can't jointly pass the most important bill that the city is going to face, it shows real problems that we're easily vulnerable to attacks from the external, which we're facing day in, day out.
Yes.
And if we don't come together quickly and soon, which means the same thing, when we face these external challenges, we're going to crumble.
Sure. So this ambiguity, politically, do you think it helps him, or is this a larger signal of his weakened leadership?
Definitely a larger symbol of his weakened leadership. If you can't whip count and get the votes you need to pass the budget you're proposing, and as Swati mentioned, your city council is creating its own budget to pass, it shows that they don't take you seriously, and that you clearly are being perceived as a weak leader who isn't powerful enough and has the strength to pass the bill that he wants to pass.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'll say that. I mean, I think that it's clearly indicative of his unwillingness to compromise,
Yes.
right? And it's something that has been identified and observed over the last 2 years is sort of his stance, his firm stance on his positions. But I do think that, you know, idealism and governing the city are two different things. And while while Mayor Johnson does have, strong ideas and ideals around how the city should work, it can't happen without compromise. It can't happen without collaboration. And this is indicative that if he's not willing to collaborate, everyone is willing to collaborate around him, which is not a good sign. So I'm hoping, as Claude mentioned, that there's a lesson in this that we do need to come together and we got to grow the hell up. We got to govern the city.
Well, I have to say, as talks begin to emerge about a possible second term, you have to imagine voters are already paying attention. And these are early signals of what's to come, I think.
Yeah, it's no doubt that voters are paying attention. And at the same time, we need to. I think that the general public can understand that nobody gets everything that they want in politics.
That's right.
I mean, but you have to find ways to show an agenda that can build, instead of saying I'm only going to do this. I'm only going to govern this way.
Yeah.
And to the benefit of the city. But right now, the impasse that's there, I think it's pretty wide chasm.
Yeah. Let's jump to CPS and talk about this proposed tax hike. So the original vote was canceled, and then the holidays roll around and the tax hike was approved during the holiday time. Why do optics matter here, and how damaging could this be for public trust?
So and then I'm gonna be quiet on it. Yeah.
Okay.
So we talked about this before with leadership, and we talked about how important trust is in a time like this, and the transparency issues that the Chicago Public Schools has had. I think this just makes it worse. Again, as a father who has children in school, who's paying taxes and actively trying to make Chicago a great city, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
You know, let people know what's happening, and you know, it's just responsible leadership that needs to be at the forefront.
Agreed. You know, we talked about the travel spending.
Yes.
We have a leadership lull right now with CPS. You're doing this winter break where there's very little pushback or scrutiny over what you're doing, and people just have less and less confidence over these systems. And the argument always is the pushback, well, it's legal. Legal doesn't make it always the right way to move forward, especially in a city where there's less and less trust in our public figures. We need to do everything we can to make sure that we have faith in them as we move forward.
And perception is reality, right?
100%.
Yes.
And this is honestly, if I'm going to be really frank about this, I think this is the silliest thing ever, because this is a tax rate that has been adopted for the past 9 years. So there was actually fairly wide public perception that it was going to pass. So the reality is that this is such a self-inflicted wound that didn't need to happen. By moving the vote, by kind of obfuscating what was actually going to happen, what everyone expected to happen anyway, seems so silly to me that they breach public trust. They don't need to do things like this that really show that they're not willing to just show up for the students of Chicago. This was an expected vote.
Yeah. So politically, who takes the hit? Is it the school board? Is it City Hall? Or is it both?
So again, I mean, being responsible, no finger pointing, no blaming everybody. Anybody who's in a position of leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership. So all of them need to come out and some type of response to us to say, this is why, this is the process. The 5 who voted no against it, why, you know, so more should come so there's understanding of what took place.
And last but not least, we spoke a moment ago about City Council being ready to do what they needed to do to move the city forward. So now we have the zoning chair showdown happening. Why does this zoning committee chair position carry so much power, and why is this fight happening now?
Yeah, the zoning committee is such an incredibly important part of City Council, and that it really does direct a lot of plan development in the city of Chicago. And at a time where there are so few cranes in the sky, there's so little development that's actually advancing due to federal and international challenges, it's really important that the investment in community that is so richly deserved in our neighborhoods is actually advancing. And so not having a working zoning committee at the moment is going to be very tough. And Alderman Lawson has been in a position of being interim chair for a very extended period of time, for almost a year and a half, if not longer at this point. And so not having the resources and the staff to be able to advance a robust zoning agenda, I think is problematic. And especially at a time where Mayor Johnson has the ability to claim a huge win by passing cut the tape initiatives throughout the administration, and so the ability to actually advance things is dependent on a functioning zoning committee. And Alderman Lawson has proven for the last year and a half to be able to have the skills and the knowledge to be able to really do a good job. And so it's, again, a self-inflicted wound.
So let me push you a little bit there. Is this really about policy and expertise, or is this about political leverage and alliances?
Well, I'm going to hedge, and I'm going to say both, because I do think that, you know, Mayor Johnson has been known to take a very long time to make political appointments that need to are critical to govern the city. But at the same time, I mean, I think that they're looking for anyone but Lawson to be able to advance the zoning agenda, but he is right now the most qualified. And so if you have somebody with expertise, let them at least have the proper tools to be able to advance major development in the city.
Sure. Additional thoughts?
I mean, I think the thread that we're hearing today is that we all need to grow up. I think when you have a mayor who I love, I think he has great values. I love the way he talks, but you're supposed to also bring people with you. You're supposed to lead by example and transparency and show people the right way to do it. And it's just wall after wall after wall that he keeps hitting and his administration keeps hitting. And creating, as you said earlier, so many self-inflicted wounds that we're seeing throughout the city that have such easy fixes if we just did them the right way. And I think that's the big problem that we're seeing.
I have another question I want to get in, but first, Claude, quickly, you have thoughts here on this?
Yeah, so people are once again digging in their corner. This is our candidate who we want. This is the candidate who we want. Once again, here's an opportunity for leaders who the city is counting on to push that aside and look at what's most important for the city of Chicago.
Agreed.
The zoning committee creates the Chicago architecture of the city. It's needed.
So in our last 30 seconds, what message does this send to developers, to neighborhoods, and even the public that are watching City Hall dynamics play out right now?
I think it's a community investment is being deprioritized, unfortunately, right? It's if we can't come together to lead the city on major development, I think it's a problem that trickles down to our neighborhoods and investment that needs to happen. And so it's a critical function, one that's reserved for City Council, and it hasn't been done to the best of our ability because we're not resourcing the interim chair with what he needs to actually make it happen, or find somebody who's able to do it to the best interest of the city.
That's right.
And I was just gonna say, the shit is hard enough as it is. Do something simple.
Sure.
And let's move Chicago forward.
And at the end of the day, cranes in the air means economic development for the city, right? So that's first and foremost.
Yes.
Sufjan, Swathi, Claude, thank you again for your time today, as always, and for the gifts of your time and your thoughts and your expertise.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. On the other side of the break, I'll be joined by Alderwomen Nicole Lee and Pat Dowell to talk about the interesting road to approval of the city's 2026 budget and the impact it will have on the already strained relationship between the mayor and city council. Stay with us.
I am Dr. Obari Cartman, inviting you to join us for a new episode of Brothers Talking, a monthly program that will bring a cross-generational group of Black men together, creating a safe and brave space for honest, fearless discussion about the issues and challenges and opportunities for growth experienced by Black men. The brothers and I look forward to seeing you exclusively on CAN-TV cable channel 19, streaming on cantv.org and on the CAN-TV Plus app.
Keeping the focus on city government, we zero in on a rare and consequential moment at City Hall. In a move that reshaped the city's fiscal direction, Chicago City Council approved an alternative 2026 budget crafted by members of the council, rejecting the version originally proposed by the mayor. While Mayor Johnson declined to sign the council's budget, he also chose not to veto it, allowing the council's plan to take effect. The episode has raised fundamental questions about power, process, and priorities. Who is steering Chicago's fiscal future? What compromises were made behind closed doors? And what does this moment signal about governance and the mayor's political standing heading into the years ahead? Joining us now are two Chicago alderwomen who played key roles in crafting the alternative budget that ultimately passed. 11th Ward Alderman Nicole Lee and 3rd Ward Alderman Pat Dowell. Alderwomen Dowell and Lee, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So let's jump right in. What was the breaking point that led City Council members to draft an alternative budget rather than negotiate changes to the mayor's proposal?
I think it started organically, Suzet. The mayor had his budget announcement. Many of us did not really have any insight into what was being proposed on that day. We sat there, we listened, and then conversation started. You know, some people did not support the head tax. Others wanted to make sure that there was an advance, a full advance pension payment. Others did not want to see any property tax increases, and conversations just started. There were some other things that we talked about. And it just sort of grew organically. It started out with like maybe 5 or 6 of us, and then it grew to like 20, and then the numbers kept growing until we had almost 31 people.
Yeah.
Alderwoman Lee?
I mean, I'll echo Chair Dowell's comments here. I think that there were lots of aspects that people were really trying to mull over. A record TIF sweep of $1 billion with no consultation of council members was, I know, a very sort of striking aspect of it. The borrowing for operational costs with the firefighters contract. There were a lot of places for us to sort of look at very critically, as we should, as the legislative body.
That's right.
And the fact that we felt as a group that there were efficiencies that should be put on the table and considered and discussed, and we didn't seem to be making any movement towards getting our own fiscal house in order.
That's actually a great segue to my next question. So at its core, how does the council's budget differ from the mayor's, and what values or priorities guided you? I think you started to go there, the values and priorities that guided the choices that you made.
Well, contrary to popular belief, we really did support most of the mayor's budget.
Okay.
The part of the budget that we worked with amounted to about 2% of the overall $17 billion budget. Very small amount.
Sure.
And so we looked at ways to make efficiencies happen, to try to find new revenue sources, to make sure that we did not impact our credit rating negatively.
Absolutely.
So that was a few of the things that we looked at.
Yeah, but I think importantly, we didn't want to see any roadblocks to growth.
Sure.
I think that, as we saw with the property tax bills that landed late in everybody's mailboxes, and really the increases that were so striking to everybody, we know that part of what is going to get us out of that situation is growth. And to throw a head tax in there, we felt very strongly was going to be a big impediment to that opportunity.
Are you able to talk at all about some of the efficiencies that you were hoping to gain?
I think efficiency-wise, the city paid for a $3 million study by Ernst & Young,
Yes.
EY, and the mayor also commissioned the Chicago Futures Task Force committee as well. And they did a lot of work, and they had a lot of great ideas. We wanted to make sure that we were implementing as many of those as quickly as possible, knowing that it would take time. We're not going to realize $46 billion in savings overnight. But if we don't get the ball rolling now, it'll just be longer and longer before we realize those. And I think that there's a strong desire as we talk to constituents. It's like, why aren't you looking inside first? There's so much waste. I mean, that's what it looks like from the outside.
Sure.
And we need to put the work in.
And for me, it was, the fact that government should be, at this point in our existence, we have to have a good cake. We cannot have cake and icing, right? So we can't afford the icing. And so we want to make sure that the services that we provide to our constituents are services that they've come to depend on, that we can bring it to them in the most efficient and effective manner.
That's right.
And so some of the efficiencies that we wanted to see, we tried to bake into the budget.
Sure.
But we know, as Alderman Lee said, that it will take time.
And I think your point about the report, the study that EY did, a lot of people are interested about the details of that report. And I think it, at least to the general public, remains to be seen what's in that report.
Yeah, it certainly, it was an interesting read. It was quite dense at the end of the day. But there are things that, from like a fleet management perspective, how we're managing warranties. Are we paying for repairs that we don't need to if something's under a warranty?
Right.
Can we do procurement in a different sort of way where we are leveraging the buying power of the city more efficiently to where, we have 50 aldermanic offices. And there are a handful of city vendors that we work with, but we're all buying things at different prices at the end of the day.
Yeah. So we know the mayor declined to sign the budget, but he also didn't veto it. So in your opinion, does that represent compromise or a deeper rift between City Hall and the council?
I'm not sure that there is a requirement that the mayor sign the budget, right?
Okay.
I don't think there's anything formally in writing that requires him to sign it. The fact that he didn't veto it means a lot, because it means that we don't have to find 34 votes to pass a budget, which I think if we had to, we could have done it.
Sure.
But our budget was balanced at the end of the day, you know, so all the comments about this is not a balanced budget is inaccurate.
Right.
Our budget was balanced, and the administration admitted to us that the budget was balanced. So now our work is to make sure that the budget is fulfilled and that we watch the revenues as they come in, that we watch the efficiencies that need to happen, and that we take a more active role in governing.
Yeah, and we make adjustments where we need to.
That's right.
The budgets, as Chair Dowell said, is a living, breathing document. And none of us, from the mayor to the council, are doing our jobs if we're not keeping an eye on everything that's going on.
Absolutely. So looking ahead, does this moment signal a more assertive city council going forward? And what does that mean for how Chicago will be governed in the years ahead?
I think that this was a good experience for us. I
Okay.
mean, this has never been done since I've been in the council, and I've been there for a little bit. But this is not the end of, it's not the end.
Sure.
We've agreed to continue to work together to look at how we can monitor the budget and the outcomes of the budget. There are probably other smaller projects that we can work on as a coalition. The goal is to keep our coalition together and build upon that, and to work with the administration on the things that are going to be best for the city of Chicago.
Absolutely.
I think it's good news for the residents of the city of Chicago. This is democracy at work, right? They've not seen this before, but who's to say that it shouldn't have been working like this the whole time?
Right.
I think, from a constituent perspective, they're really seeing now how the council and the mayor are sort of working together or working to make sure that the best interest of Chicago is in mind. And it's okay to have the discourse. In fact, we should.
Discourse can be healthy.
Absolutely.
And sometimes disagreement can be helpful too.
That's
Yes.
right. Well, Alderwoman Dowell, Alderwoman Lee, thank you both so much for being here with us today and for spending a bit of time with us to help all of us understand the implications around this budget. On the other side of the break, Mark sits down with Bottomline Chicago Executive Director Jennifer Reed Davis to talk about access to higher education for students from historically underrepresented communities. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Candace Norcott. On the next edition of Be Well, I'll be joined by licensed clinical social worker Kamisha Jones-Brandon, discussing how to explore and navigate the search for a therapist, what to expect in those early sessions, and how to stay engaged in your healing process. Join the conversation on CAN TV, Cable Channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org, or on the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
They say television is about sitting back. We say it's about stepping up. Your block has stories worth telling. Your neighbors have voices worth hearing. Chicago has a heartbeat worth sharing. Stop watching their world. Start showing yours. It's time to tune in and be seen. CAN TV, always here, always yours. Experience the power of community television.
This week, we're spotlighting an organization working at the intersection of college access, affordability, and student success, with a focus on helping students not just get into college, but to get through college and to graduate. Bottomline Chicago partners with first-generation and low-income students to provide intensive, one-on-one advising that helps them make smart college choices, navigate financial aid, manage costs, and persist all the way to a degree. Joining us to discuss the organization's mission and its key program initiatives is Jennifer Reed Davis, Executive Director of Bottomline Chicago. Jennifer, welcome. It is so good to have you in the studio.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here.
Wow.
And you all did your research. That introduction is top notch.
Well, very good. I had very little to do with it. But tell us, for people who are not, viewers who are not familiar with the mission of Bottomline Chicago, tell us about the mission and how Bottomline Chicago goes beyond traditional college access programs.
Yeah. So our mission is actually one of the things that attracted me to the work. It is get in, graduate, and go far. And it sounds like a brand, because it kind of is, or a slogan, but it is actually our mission distilled down into 5 simple words. I would say that getting into college, graduating, and going far is the promise and the commitment that we make to the families and the students that we serve. How we are different than traditional career access or college access programs is, well, one, we are one-to-one. And so the kind of services that we provide for first generation, low income, academic middle students, we do not serve the 4.0 kid. Nothing's wrong with that. We all want our kids to be the 4.0 kid, but we also want to make sure that we are providing support for students who are actually in the academic middle. And we do that with one-to-one advising. All of our advisors are full-time, professionally trained college advisors. So they're not volunteers, this is their full-time job. And then we also stick with our students beginning in junior year of high school and senior year of high school when they are applying to college, all the way to college, and through graduation, or year 6.
Wow.
Whichever one comes first.
So how many students do you support every year in Chicago alone?
Yeah, so this year alone, we serve about 1,600 students total on our roster this year.
Wow, that's a huge number. And how many advisors does it take to support 1,600 students?
Yeah, I need more, is the honest truth. But I have a very large team of about 30 advisors who have pretty large caseloads, but it is their full-time, commitment and day-to-day job.
That's a full-time job. These are not volunteer advisors.
No,
these are professional advisors.
Correct, and they are professionally trained. So we have a program that has been tested and tried and has lots of data behind it. And so we essentially run a curriculum for our high school students to help them make the most informed decision possible to get into college. And then we have another curriculum that all of our advisors walk through our students, whether they are college students in year 1 or year 4 or year 6.
So we know that getting through college in today's day and age is very, very difficult.
Yes.
For all students, but especially first generation and underrepresented communities. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about what students are struggling with most today, be it financial, mental, emotional? What are the issues that young college students are facing?
Yeah, so I would say, like most students, whether it be in the K-12 sector or in college, a focus on social and emotional and mental wellness has to be a part of the work that we do. We want our students to be well. We want our students to be able to navigate and actually enjoy the benefits of creating a life they want for themselves. And so that has definitely posed to be a different kind of barrier and struggle. We are here in Chicago. We know what has happened in our city over the last 6 months, and our college students are not immune to that, right? And so they understand and are experiencing the polarizing political landscape just as a college student. But in addition to that, I would argue that the main barrier for students in completing college is finances. College is expensive.
Yeah, let's talk about affordability. That's a big thing that everybody's talking about in this country, in certainly in terms of school, but in terms of everything, from groceries to gasoline.
Correct.
Right, the conversation's about affordability. So in this day and age, when so many people think that college is not affordable, how are you advising young people and their parents really about what it means to go down this path, the cost, the debt, the value proposition of college these days?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So I will say this, one, just to educate the viewer. Today in the state of Illinois, I would argue that the average cost of in-state tuition today is somewhere between $11,000 and $15,000 a year. But that is just tuition. That's not a single book. It's not a single meal, and it definitely isn't room and board. So when you begin to include all those other costs for our in-state tuition, you're already talking about $20,000 to $30,000 a year for many of our students to go to college. And for first-gen low-income families, that is insurmountable without really strong support. And so we include affordability as a pillar of our model. It has to be a part of the equation.
And do many of these young people have to work while they are in college to support themselves? And I think that many young people, including first generation, are also supporting their families as much as the
100%.
families are supporting them.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I would argue that's why our focus on the academic middle is so critical, because just because a student is an average student is actually not an indicator of their intellect. It could be because they have a job after school and have.
Exactly.
And so their ability to do homework or extra credit is different because they are working to support their families. And so yes, many of our students do work, but I would say that we have a formula in our counseling where we are really being very upfront with our students about the real cost, about their options, about financial aid and the Pell Grant and what that means for them. And then we're very upfront. Our data tells us that if a student is taking out more than $3,000 to $5,000 out of pocket in order to go to school each year,
They won't finish.
our data tells us they won't finish.
Exactly.
And I know that to some people, $3,000 doesn't sound like a whole lot of money, but for many families in the city of Chicago, that could be the difference between finishing a degree or leaving college with no degree and tons of debt.
So can you share a real live example or two of a young person who went through 6 years of Bottomline and where they are today? You don't have to name any names, but just give an example.
Yeah, I definitely can. So I have a young student who lives in Little Village, or who is from Little Village. Their parents are very hardworking, and they did not think that college was actually a feasible, affordable option for them because they didn't have the funding to go. And I'm talking about a student who's worked very hard. I'm talking about a student who has had several jobs, take care of their younger siblings, and also has amazing grades, better grades than I had in high school. Let's be very clear. And did not think that college was gonna be a real option for them. And so they didn't even apply. Wasn't even working towards it. And then they had a guidance counselor at their high school just tell them about our program on the side. And the student came to informational, I would say was hesitant, wasn't really sold or bought in, because, by the time you are 17 to 18 years old, you kind of have a strong sense of self. And you begin to make decisions about who you think you can be and who you think you can't be. But we had an amazing advisor who leaned in, who was persistent with the student. And today, this student is a third year at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
Wow.
Is majoring in nursing and has excellent grades. And I believe that this student's life will forever be different because they now have access to a career where they can earn income that will change their lives.
That is so fantastic. So we got about 30 seconds. Okay. Happy 6-month anniversary.
Yeah.
What do you want to do in the next 6 months or the next 6 years? And you got 30 seconds.
I got 30 seconds. Yeah, this is easy.
All right.
I want to continue to expand opportunities for Black and brown young people in the city of Chicago. I think that an educated Chicago is a stronger Chicago, and that is what our children deserve. So my only proposition here is that we have to continue to grow the work and make sure that their dreams are reality.
Well, I wanted to thank you again, Jenna, for being with us. I feel like Chicago is in such good hands with Bottomline Chicago and with you.
Thank you.
And it was a joy to be with you.
Same.
On the other side of the break, we'll continue our focus on higher education with the George M. Pullman Educational Foundation's Executive Director, Eric Delabovi. Stay with us.
Pilsen, a neighborhood bursting with Latino culture, offering a vibrant tapestry of music, art, culinary tradition, and nightlife. I'm Hugo Balta. In the next episode of Sazón de Illinois, we'll sample the stories, culture, and cuisine of an award-winning restaurant that gives this neighborhood its flavor.
For more than 40 years, CAN TV has been Chicago's voice, your voice. We've shared your stories, amplified your concerns, and celebrated your triumphs. Now we want to hear from you. What programs matter most? What issues should we cover? How can we better serve your community? Visit cantv.org/feedback today. CAN TV. Experience the power of community television.
We continue the hour with an organization that has quietly and consistently helped open doors to higher education for thousands of Chicago students for decades. The George M. Pullman Educational Foundation has a singular mission: to support high-achieving, first-generation, and underrepresented students from Chicago as they pursue and complete college. Through scholarships, mentorship, and wraparound support, the foundation has focused not just on getting students into college, but on helping them thrive once they're there. That work recently received national attention when the foundation was awarded a transformative $10 million gift from philanthropist Mackenzie Scott, an investment that affirms both the impact of the organization's mission and the importance of long-term, student-centered support in closing opportunity gaps. Joining us tonight to talk about what this moment means and how it will shape the future of the foundation's work is Eric Delabovi, Executive Director of the George M. Pullman Educational Foundation, along with Pullman Scholar alumni Kene Uwaje and Narissa Legg. Eric, Kene, Narissa, welcome to the Newsroom.
Thank you.
So good to have you here tonight.
To be here.
Yep, great to have you. And I am so excited to see you again, Eric.
Great to see you, Mark.
In a different capacity. But it's so great, and I'm so excited about the work that you're doing. So for viewers who are unfamiliar with the foundation, can you just share a little bit about the core mission of the Pullman Foundation and how it's distinct from other traditional scholarship programs?
Sure. The Pullman Educational Foundation, we provide merit-based, need-based scholarships to Cook County students with the sole purpose to ensure that they graduate on time with as little debt as possible. So for 75 years and counting, we've invested $37 million to nearly 12,000 students across Cook County. Things that make us distinct: we support those scholars for 4 years. We follow their journey, both with scholarships and support services, and a community of Pullman alumni backing them and supporting them along the way. Another thing is we believe in the student's agency. We don't restrict where they go to school or what major they choose. That is on them. We trust that they're going to choose their own path, what's good for them.
Mm-hmm. And are these support staff, are they volunteers? Are they paid? How do you find the folks that are helping with all the wraparound supports?
Well, we have a small but mighty staff. However, we have around 7,000 alumni all throughout the country, many of whom volunteer for mentoring purposes, helping us put on our symposium, our webinars, one-on-one mentoring. We have a vast network of very capable people who have a range of expertise that the scholars can plug into.
Wow, that's so fantastic. Yeah. So as I mentioned, the foundation recently, as you know, received a $10 million gift from Mackenzie Scott, truly transformational. How is this going to change the organization and let you do what you do even better?
Well, it's interesting you say that. We just celebrated our 75th anniversary. For that anniversary, we want to do something special. We increased our freshman class by 20%, and we now provide to all scholars free, on-demand mental health support services that they can access at any time. We wanted to make sure that we put their well-being front and center, and that's really important to us. We want to remove every obstacle possible for those scholars so they can focus on succeeding in college.
Okay, viewers want to know, or at least I want to know, how did you react when you got a call or an email that said you're getting $10 million? This just doesn't happen.
It certainly has never happened to me. It was an amazing experience. I think I walked around the office all day just saying $10
million. It's still sinking in, but we're very excited to put that to use. We really want to continue to expand access and expand the Pullman Scholars, and certainly enhance our programmatic opportunities for those students, and just continue to double down on the success we've had.
So, Kenny, tell me a little bit, tell the viewers about your experience. You're alumni, you're not current Pullman Scholars, but you're alumni, and what was the experience like and the wraparound support that Eric mentioned? Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, the Pullman Foundation experience was amazing. Throughout my collegiate journey, I was able to, one, really just be able to immerse myself fully in my learning experience and not really have to think about the financial burden. So that's obviously one of the ways that the Pullman Foundation invests in its scholars, but even going deeper and beyond that, support, mentorship, long-lasting community was one of the major things that they gave me and still continue to give me today as an alumni about 3 years out of graduating college. And so what that looked like specifically within college, they would do monthly check-ins. So it really allowed me to reflect on what was happening in college. I think things can go really fast, really quickly. And so it allowed me to take a breath, give advice if I needed it, and really just understand, okay, how can I be more intentional about the time and what I'm doing here at my university? And then they also invested in our skill building. And so they hosted virtual sessions. As someone who went to an out-of-state college, it was really helpful for me to still feel very involved in the community, and also just make sure that I'm really career ready after leaving. So.
And what are you doing today, thanks to the Pullman Scholarship and the support?
Yes, so I am a senior business development representative for a social media software company here in Chicago called Sprout Social. So.
Okay, I've heard of it. Very good. Wow, big time.
Yes.
Very exciting. So tell us a little bit about your experience and then what you're doing today.
Of course, thank you. So the Pullman Foundation, it definitely means a lot to me. I remember, even though this was many years ago, when I became a scholar, how important it was to my family, especially my mother. She was so happy. I mean, we both were, but it was just nice to know that with the scholarship, it provided so much support and relief just for the family. And so beyond that, I mean, I think it speaks volumes that 20 years later, since I've graduated, I'm still involved with the foundation. It's really like a family. It's become home. We go back every year.
And what does that mean, you're still involved with the foundation?
Still involved. I volunteer with the foundation. So you were asking earlier about some of the volunteers. I'm one of the volunteers who
Thank you.
Just, I like to give back, whether that's through mentorship, support, time, helping to, grade those essays that come through every year. Coming back to the symposium, being able to speak. Kenny and I hosted a panel one year, and that was a lot of fun. So just being able to give back and provide support to the scholars is really meaningful to me.
Mm-hmm. And today you are doing?
So today I serve as the executive director for the Hospital Capacity Management Consortium. It's a professional membership group that is part of the American Hospital Association.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the impact of this scholarship program is so obvious, times thousands.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So we only have a few minutes left. What are some of the biggest challenges that young people are facing going to college today? And sort of what is the secret sauce that Pullman is providing at this particular moment when college access is so much harder than ever, college completion so much harder?
Yeah, the needs are varied. We have to remember that COVID wasn't that far back. One of the things is I think the needs change as these generations go through college. And what we try to do at the foundation is be good listeners and responsive to their needs. So as we're setting up our programs, we listen to the students. We ask them what they're looking for. And they range. I've mentioned the mental health services was something as a big initiative that we wanted to push through. It could be anything from resume and interview tips to how to manage a credit card, what to expect when they graduate, many things. But it's really, really important to be good listeners. And I think the proof is in our results. Pullman scholars graduate at 95% rate. They're graduating, 70% are graduating debt-free. And the cumulative GPA of these graduates is 3.57. So they are incredibly successful. And so with that kind of success, we're going to continue to double down on our work and hopefully expand it with this new gift.
That is so fantastic. So we have 10 seconds each for each of you. One bit of advice you would give to a young scholar.
Okay, so I would say just to, be ready to learn and be open to new possibilities.
Yeah, and for me, I would say be very intentional about how you spend your time in college. I think there's a lot of different things that you can get involved in, but obviously being open, but also being mindful of what's the ultimate end goal here. So.
Wow. Well, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Narissa. Thank you, Kenny, for joining us tonight. It was a joy to have you on the program tonight. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for your great work.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
On the other side of the break, Hassani Olujimi is here with the premiere installment of the new enterprise segment, Good News News. Stay with us.
I am Dr. Obari Cartman, inviting you to join us for a new episode of Brothers Talking, a monthly program that will bring a cross-generational group of Black men together, creating a safe and brave space for honest, fearless discussion about the issues and challenges and opportunities for growth experienced by Black men. The brothers and I look forward to seeing you exclusively on CAN TV cable channel 19, streaming on cantv.org and on the CAN TV Plus app.
CAN TV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With CAN TV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you, connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on CAN TV On Demand.
In a world where good news seems increasingly harder to find, CAN TV is committed to seeking out the people and stories that demonstrate the very best of humanity. Helping us to do just that is the ever-joyful Hassani Olujimi, host of CAN TV's new enterprise segment, Good News News. Welcome, Hassani. What's the good news?
Thanks, Suzet. Happy New Year, Chicago, and welcome to the premiere edition of Good News News. I'm your Chief Joy correspondent, Hassani Olujimi, and I'm Gugu for Good News. Now, the goal of this segment is to inspire and uplift you, the viewer, with nothing but, you guessed it, good news. I recall as a child a positive and affirming quote before taking offering in church. It says, I give because I have, and I have because I give. I just wondered, does that include spare parts? Let's explore a little more.
Nick Kohler makes a living teaching people how to breathe underwater in the Florida Keys. But at 25, he decided to take an even bigger plunge, helping one person to live.
I decided it really was impossible to justify not giving up the kidney. I don't need it, someone else does.
Kohler wanted to donate one of his kidneys to anyone who needed it, just because.
You know, what goes around comes around.
And it went to 9-year-old Aaron, who waited 3 years for the life-saving kidney. The pair met after surgery.
There was a thumbs-up exchange. That was cute.
Aaron is now doing well. They plan to reunite in a couple of weeks. Dr. Linda Chen is a transplant surgeon at Memorial Regional.
True altruistic donors who just are so selfless that they want to give an organ, that really touches my heart. Because I know that there's good in this world.
Kohler started the Spare Parts Project to encourage others to do the same.
Donate life, give a piece of yourself.
The gift of a selfless act. Elaine Quijano, CBS News.
Wow. Now, isn't that good news? This story reminds me of a lyric in a popular song. It says, we are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving, even if it includes a spare part. Now let's check in with one of my favorite personalities. Her name is Little Big Mama. What do you have in store for us today?
Happy New Year, Hassani, to you and your viewers. I just want to tell you a quick story. The other day it was snowing and it was very cold. It was so cold my computer froze. But I think it was my fault. I left too many windows open. I know. Go take a time out. Bye, baby.
Thanks, little Big Mama. Can't live with her, can't live without her. That's this week's Good News News Report. Until next time, the best way to turn a frown upside down is to get goo-goo for good news. Back to you, Dr. Suzet.
Thank you, Hassani. We look forward to welcoming you back soon for another episode of Good News News. On the other side of a short break, CAN TV's Executive Director Darius Hillman joins us to share his thoughts on Chicago's expanded bike lanes. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Candace Norcott. On the next edition of Be Well, I'll be joined by licensed clinical social worker Kamisha Jones-Brandon, discussing how to explore and navigate the search for a therapist, what to expect in those early sessions, and how to stay engaged in your healing process. Join the conversation on CAN TV, cable channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org, or on the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
Here with his thoughts on the latest round of bike lane expansion here in Chicago is CAN TV's Executive Director, Darius Hillman. Darius.
Chicago is a dense city. Its streets are already crowded, its curbs already congested, and its residents already navigating a daily puzzle of cars, buses, delivery trucks, ride shares, emergency vehicles, snow routes, and street parking. And yet, once again, the city's answer to congestion is to take more space away from everyone else, this time through an aggressive expansion of bike lanes that many neighborhoods simply don't fit the reality on the ground. This approach feels familiar because it's exactly what the airline industry did to coach seating. Instead of rethinking the system, airlines kept shrinking the same limited space, narrower seats, tighter rows, less leg room, until discomfort became the new norm. The plane didn't get bigger. The number of passengers didn't go down. Everyone was just told to adjust. That's what's happening on Chicago streets. We're not widening roads. We're not meaningfully expanding transit frequency. We're not fixing bottlenecks, delivery zones, or curb management. We're just re-slicing the same pie and telling drivers, bus riders, seniors, people with disabilities, and small businesses to make do. Supporters say bike lanes are about safety and climate goals, and those are real concerns. But safety can't be achieved by creating new hazards, delivery trucks double parking, buses forced into traffic, emergency vehicles navigating tighter corridors, and drivers circling endlessly for parking that no longer exists. And let's be honest, this debate isn't really bike versus car. It's about planning versus symbolism. In some neighborhood, bike lanes are heavily used and they make sense. In others, they sit mostly empty while traffic backs up for blocks and local businesses struggle with access. A one-size-fits-all solution simply doesn't work in a city as varied as Chicago. Progress shouldn't feel like punishment. Sustainability shouldn't require daily frustration. And equity shouldn't mean asking the same communities to absorb every inconvenience without real input. Just like cramped airplane seats, they didn't improve travel. Tighter streets will not improve transportation. What Chicago needs isn't smaller slices of the same pie. It needs smarter, more honest planning and a willingness to admit that sometimes less ideology and more practicality is the real way forward. I'm Darius Hillman. That's my opinion.
We want to hear from you, Chicago. Got an opinion on a topic you've been wanting to get off your chest? CAN TV is the place to do it. Share your opinion with us in 250 words or less. If your submission is selected, we'll invite you to join us on the air to present your perspective to the entire city.
And that's our time for this week. Thank you to all of our guests for joining us in conversation and community.
And thank you, Chicago, for making space for CAN TV and Chicago Newsroom 2.0 in your busy day. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you, my friend.
Right back at you, Suzette. I am already looking forward to the next time.
Agreed. And with that, Thank you again, Chicago. Until we meet again, be well and well informed.